Hi, everybody. It's Jane Rachel, and I'm back with Lauren, who's in the middle of this inspiring story about how she dealt with symptoms from POTS since a very young age, since at least fifth or sixth grade, and how it took almost 5 years to get a diagnosis. Which, my heart breaks for you for that, Lauren. But on the other hand, I'm really, I see how well you're doing now, which just is so inspiring. So tell me a little bit about how your life changed once that doctor told you you have POTS and put a name to what you have.
Well, it's really interesting because, you know, it didn't change. It was so weird because she said, you have POTS, but I can't treat you. She said, I don't have the knowledge to treat you. I'm not the doctor that you need. And so I said, okay, so who is the doctor that I need? And there's a doctor, his name is Dr. Jeffrey Boris. He's at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And she said, that's who you should see. He is a pediatric cardiologist that specializes in POTS. He's one of the few doctors that specializes in POTS in the entire country, for adults and for children. And he's the person. And so we called and he made an appointment and he had a 6-month waiting list.
6 months after already waiting so many years?
I know, it was so crazy. And so, half of me was so relieved. I was like, I have a diagnosis. I can tell people now that I feel sick because I have POTS, which was a huge deal for me to be able to say, like, I am sick because of this, because I never had a reason before. But at the same time, I was like, well, I guess I just keep living my life. The only thing that the doctor that diagnosed me could say, she said, start drinking a lot of water. She recommended that I drink 90 ounces of water a day.
That's a lot of
and
water.
Then, and she suggested that I start taking salt pills. So I did both of those things. And it was really hard to start drinking water at first. But, over time, it's become part of my daily routine to just drink that much water every day. I always have water with me. It does. It really makes a difference. And everyone says it, and unless you really do it, it's hard to feel it. But like I can feel days when I did not drink enough water, and the next day I'm exhausted and I'm fatigued, and I think, oh, I should have had more water yesterday. I was too busy, or like I didn't fill up my water bottle early enough. And so those things made a small enough difference, but I really just had to wait 6 months to see this other doctor.
That's a shame. So what happened though when you finally got in to see this doctor?
So I went to see him, and every doctor that treats POTS treats it very differently. I've noticed that now that I'm 20 and he won't see me anymore. I've noticed that, I've seen 2 other doctors for POTS since then, and they also both treat it very differently. But his approach is medicinal. So he says, what are your 3 worst symptoms? And he finds medications that he thinks can treat those that are normally off-label prescriptions. So he prescribed me Vyvanse, which is an ADHD medication, because I was getting too fatigued, and that helps keep me awake.
Okay, great.
He prescribed fludrocortisone, which is really common for patients with POTS because it raises your blood pressure. And he prescribed an antihistamine for my headaches. So
did it work? Did the combination of the 3 work?
It really worked. And I was lucky. I didn't have to try that many different medications. Some people have to try all sorts of medications. I'm not that sensitive to medications, which is a good thing. There are a lot of POTS patients that I've seen who are really sensitive to the side effects of different medications. But it helped a lot. And then over time, some of the other suggestions were so hard for me to kind of implement as, a 17-year-old person, or a 16, I think. Just not being that diligent and still being a teenager and wanting to go out and have fun. Like exercise is a really big thing, which is so hard when you have POTS, so it sounds very counterintuitive. But exercise, starting laying down and moving up.
So is there a special exercise protocol that you did? Because I can imagine you can't just immediately get on the treadmill and run 5 miles.
Yeah, so it's called the Dallas Protocol. And it outlines, it's a calendar. So it does day by day what you should be doing. And it switches between cardio, usually using a recumbent bike, or swimming, or doing something that's horizontal. And then strength training to whichever ability you can do it. And it starts with 30 minutes a day and it goes up to, an hour every day. And I've been working my way through that for like 1.5 years now. it's taken longer than it, says that it's going to, because I have school going on, so I miss weeks sometimes, or I go on a vacation and I miss a week, or the coronavirus happens and I miss
Yeah.
the gym.
Yeah.
But that's helped me a lot with my energy since then. But I wasn't able to start really being diligent about it until I was 19, because I just wasn't old enough to care and to really have the motivation.
Yeah. Do you think now, like, is your life that of a typical college student? Like, or like, how is it affecting your college experience?
I definitely notice differences between me and my friends, but I don't think that it holds me back very much. I've noticed that like my friends will spend the whole day together and then they'll go to a party at night. And I can't do that. I have to have one or the other. I can go to the party at night and spend half a day with you,
Yeah.
but I can't spend the whole day with you and then go to a party later, because otherwise, like, I won't be able to make it through the party, or
Yeah.
I'll feel really terrible the next day. Um,
Yeah.
so I've had to really reset my expectations for myself and the amount of things that I can handle. I've taken on accommodations at school that are really helpful, like having housing central to campus, so none of my classes are that far away, and having housing with elevators and air conditioning, because the heat really affects me. Um, and then also just getting extra time on assignments and on tests has helped a lot too, with things like brain fog and confusion. Just
You
kind of
have a lot.
allowing me to take my time.
That's great. Do you feel like you have a lot fewer migraines and fewer periods of the heart racing now that you're doing the
Yes.
medication? Yeah, that's great.
Um, the migraines have gotten a lot better. I get one every few months, usually. Um, and usually there's a reason why, like because I moved or because something changed.
Yep.
Um, and then the heart racing I get it when I eat, which is really difficult. But if I eat certain foods and if I drink a certain amount of water before I eat those foods, I can kind of mitigate the feelings. Um, but I wake up super early for the day, because I know that if I take a shower, I might want to take a break after. So I've just kind of restructured my day around having pods, and it's become less of an inconvenience.
I mean, it sounds like you've been through so much, but that you're doing so well is incredible. Do you have any advice either for someone right now who's just gotten diagnosed, or if you could go back in time and tell the sixth grade version of yourself some advice, or just some tips, or just to anyone who's first getting diagnosed now? I personally have heard of some people who've gotten diagnosed recently with POTS and are really struggling. So just any advice for them?
I think my biggest advice, I touched on a little bit before, is resetting your expectations, and saying, like, just recognizing for yourself that, you might want to do 10 things today, but you can only do 5. And so kind of just rethinking your days and saying, I'm never going to be able to do 10 things in a day. I'm going to set my expectation to do 5 things today. And if I do 5 things today, then I had a good day. Um, and that can go for college too. You could say, I'm never going to be able to handle a full course load. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress and energy. And I want to be able to have fun with my friends at the same time. But if I can graduate in 5 years or in 6 years, I still graduated
Yeah,
with a partial course load. And that's what
absolutely.
matters. Um, I still graduated and I still managed to have a social life at the same time. And I think that that's a really hard thing to do. And it takes a lot of time to start kind of rethinking your days and to rethink the way that you see yourself in your own life.
Yeah.
But over time, it starts to become second nature, and you start to think, you stop planning your days with more than you can handle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you're just such an inspiration. And I just think from hearing your story, like, going through this, I think going through any like unknown illness is difficult, but especially the fact that you were so young and going through
Thank
high
you.
school and college. But I can just tell, I mean, you've come so far. So I think anybody who's experiencing POTS or anything like it should be really inspired by your story. I mean, I guess, lastly, just anything I've forgotten to ask, or just anything else that you want to get out there, or, um,
I think just that, it's going to take time and it's going to take a lot of diligence, and that you're going to have to advocate for yourself a lot is my biggest, I guess, takeaway from having POTS in general, is like it takes time to get better. you have to be your own advocate because people aren't going to understand what you have and they're not going to know it. And that you have to, adjust your expectations for yourself.
Yep, absolutely. And I think your story shows, though, that it can get better. Yes, it's still very much a part of your life, but you're achieving and you're a college student with friends and doing well. And I think, so someone who's just starting to deal with it now, it might take time, but they'll get to that place in life too. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's such an inspiring story. You've absolutely inspired me, and I know that you will to anybody who sees this. So thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this.